We are now joined by one of the players who was involved in the game yesterday, Kate O'Donovan, a player with Cork City, joins us. Kate, you're very welcome to the show.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Talk to us a bit about the game yesterday. First of all, let's start there. Not a great start, 3 minutes in, 1 goal down, but you managed to rally well in a fine second half performance.
Thanks for mentioning that, because I started, so that doesn't make me look too good. But no, we started slow, but we got to grips with it after about 10-15, and we had 3 or 4 good chances, finally leveled up, and then we kept it level for the girls going to second half, and we let them do the rest then. It was a really physical game though, so it was a good test for us yesterday.
In terms of, I suppose, pre-season so far, how are things down in Cork? How's the club faring up?
Yeah, it's been doing really well. We've had like off-season programs, so the S&C coach has sorted that out. So we came in, we were really sharp. A few weeks of training, few inter-squad games, which have gone really well, really up to the level we need them to be at. And then we had the friendly against Peamount last week, which that was just for to get a run out of the legs. We won't mention the score. And the friendly again yesterday, and that was a far better performance and another tough game for us as well. So it's all going well so far.
Yeah, I suppose Steph might have a few points on the game last week. Steph, you were with Peamount during that game last week. What was your thoughts on how Cork City were shaping up? I haven't seen them in the cup final last week. Obviously, they've lost 1 or 2 players, Maria Sullivan in goals. And up front, I suppose the big high-profile one is the loss of Saoirse Noonan, who's going to be a huge loss to them this year.
Yeah, I think it's been highlighted quite clearly around the league that Saoirse Noonan's moved on to Shels, and obviously, as I mentioned, goalkeeper as well was very good for them over the season last year. But I think not a lot really has changed in terms of how Cork set up. I think Kate will agree. I think they seem to want to play a similar style of football. They're encouraged to play, which is good to see. I think players like Eva Mangan, Sophie Liston, I think Sarah McEvitt has come in as well as a good signing for them too. So I think these are the types of players that are going to need to step up and I suppose be the key players this year with Saoirse and, as we mentioned, the goalkeeper Maria Sullivan leaving. So it's, for me, I think watching his last week, it was similar. I don't know, Kate, if you agree. I think you seem to have the same mentality. You're trying to play the same sort of football, and really, I think it's about, you've got obviously quite a lot of young players within your squad, so it's about kind of knitting them together and really trying to get the best results you can throughout the season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We have a certain way of playing, but we're getting better at adapting, I suppose, and in certain situations, playing a bit differently in games, like going long when we need to maybe, or just tightening up for 5 minutes, just get everything in. And we're learning now, like we're a young side, but like we're finally, I suppose, taking those lessons on. And yeah, we were very competitive last year, but we want to be a bit more competitive again. We got our highest finish last year in the league, so we want to finish hopefully higher again and, well, maybe win a cup instead of going runners up.
One of a couple of girls might argue with you on that front today.
Yeah.
The game yesterday, if you look at the 3 individual goals, let's forget the first one for the time being, but the 3 individual goals, one was kind of from a set piece, from a throw in the end of the first half, one from a little bit of a fortunate break of a ball in the middle, and Sophie Liston and Eva Mangan, who's impressed me. I wasn't aware of the name before I watched the highlights of the game. She was involved in both of the 2 goals in the second half. How much have players like that added to where, I suppose, the club is, and having that kind of stream of players coming through from under 17s into the first team? How much is that helping the quality that's coming through that team?
Hugely. It's all come from the academy. So before we even get to 17s, we have the academy set up, and I was actually the first player in the academy. So that was in 2015, and since then there's more and more. Now they have 17s and now 19s, and we're just getting more and more players. Eva in particular is fantastic, but Kelly Leahy played in midfield as well in the second half, and another great player. They're only 17, 18, same with Laura Shine, like they're incredibly young, like, so we have players of that quality, and the thing is there's actually more coming, so it's going to be really exciting for us. But it's because the club have the structures in place, I suppose, that we can showcase that talent, really, I guess is the best way to phrase it.
Let's talk about the 2 players you've lost. One, obviously, the goalkeeper, Maria has gone to the States on a scholarship. That happens nearly every club every season. 1 or 2 players will make that decision for their education, and can't begrudge anybody that. But in terms of the decision of Saoirse to move to Cork, from a Cork City point of view, how disappointing is it to kind of continuously lose players of that quality to, I suppose, the perceived stronger clubs?
Look, obviously we were going to be disappointed. Any team would be disappointed to lose a player of Saoirse's quality. Like that's a given. But we do have the players coming up, and it just means that they probably just get their chance that bit earlier, and that's the way we look at it. Like, we don't feel sorry for ourselves, and firstly, we also want to wish Saoirse the best of luck with it as well. She wants to try something different, so you can't really be angry or disrespectful when someone wants to kind of go outside their comfort zone and try something different too. So it gives other players a chance. Like Eva played in the 10 there yesterday, as you were saying, like, and she's just top class, like, and this could really be her year now to shine, like. So, like, when you have players coming through, we'll just give them extra responsibility, and I've no doubt they're going to step up.
You spoke about Eva getting the opportunity. I think you're right as well. I think obviously Saoirse Noonan's a huge loss to any club. I think if she leaves, her players of her standard. But as you mentioned, so many young players, and I noticed obviously when we played as well, a lot of changes within the game. So many good young players coming in. Is there anybody you think maybe that we don't know about yet that could shine this season?
I think the two, obviously you've spotted Eva. I think Kelly Leahy is the other one, and the two of them definitely for sure will be the two for me. But there's one coming up from the 17s, Orla DC. I think she'll be good. She hasn't signed yet for the seniors, but give it a year or two, and you'll definitely see Orla in a senior shirt for sure.
In terms of the overall context of the league, we all want every team to be as competitive as possible. Is it a concern going forward, though, for clubs like Cork that they are constantly losing players? Like Denise O'Sullivan obviously has gone on to much bigger levels than anything else. The likes of Claire shine over the years playing in Glasgow and such. Now Saoirse moves on to a team in Dublin. What can Cork City do to make it more attractive to players of that quality, maybe to consider staying in Cork and fulfilling their, I suppose, what they want to get to their potential in the club and with Turner's Cross?
I suppose, to be honest, I think we have the structures in place. We have the club. Since we've become one club, they give us everything in terms of kits, pitches, GPSs, game analysis, all that. So we have all those type of things. We're getting better and better every year. I think it's up to us as players now to put in those performances so that we do it on a consistent basis. So they know that it's not just we finished well in the year this year, but the league this year, but maybe not next year. That they know, like, no, we're going to push on again. I think it's maybe that. But in terms of what the club can do, I think we all know how lucky we are to be a part of such a big club, because they genuinely, the people there and the board, they do so much for us to just help us, get to our best.
I think Cork have always produced really good players, even just some of the names you've mentioned there. I think, having watched the team over the last couple of seasons, particularly last season, we played just in pre-season and obviously in the league and then in the cup as well. I just think there's huge improvements being made, and as I said, he's always produced really good players. So I do see the future being bright for Cork. Definitely, I think, as you mentioned, if you continue to do well and keep those players at the club, and it then gives you the platform to push on to try and compete for the league titles. But I do think, as I said, the future is bright for Cork. I think some very, very talented players down there.
I wasn't trying to paint a bleak picture.
No, I'm just saying.
I suppose looking at the cup final last year, which is probably the yardstick that most neutrals will look at, I think it was a very unfair scoreline on the difference between the two teams, and also maybe on the balance of the game, because I don't think 6-0 reflected the balance of play. Like it was what was it, 1-0 or level at the break? So you can't judge it based on that. I think the teams are an awful lot tighter than they actually, maybe that result and that impression would give. But no, I think Cork have done phenomenal work over the years, and that list of players that were named earlier are example of that. I think they'll be thereabouts in that mid-table pack, and I'd love to see them really push on, though, because I think the league needs a strong Cork side to really push on. It's got such a big tradition in the women's game. In terms of the season ahead, what's I suppose the ambitions? You talked about pushing on into that kind of top half of the table. What's a realistic measure of success for Cork this season?
The same as what we kind of set ourselves last year. Get into that top 4 and do our best to break into that top 3. And if you get yourself in and around there, like, you never know. Like, I suppose last year we beat Wexford and drew with them. So, things like that. Like, if we can put in those performances against Shels and Peas, you never know. But it's down to us to put in the performances. And if we can do that on a consistent basis, I think definitely we can hit that top 3 and a good cup run again. being on the winning side this time, preferably. But those would be the main two targets for sure for us this year.
Well, listen, thanks very much for joining us, and congratulations on a decent performance and a good victory yesterday, and the best of luck for the season ahead.
Best of luck
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, you too.
Steph, of course, you played them last week. You also played them in that cup game at the end of the year that we mentioned. What's your thoughts on where Cork are going to be this year? Bearing in mind, you're going to have to play them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, hopefully they can get any of their good performances against us, obviously. But as Kate mentioned, I think they're looking to push as high as they can up the league. I think the league is definitely genuinely getting more competitive. I think we found it difficult against teams like the LOR and Cork City last year for large periods. Obviously, the first half of the cup final is probably the prime example. They were difficult to play against. I think, without sound, I don't want to come across arrogant, but I think our quality kind of shone through near the end. I think when you see the substitutes we were able to bring off the bench and the players that we had kind of to link up with to try and create those chances, I think as the game went on, we felt we would get the chances to score, and we did. So look, I think really good squad, as I mentioned, and I think the league is definitely getting more competitive, which can only be good.